airing live from Madison, Wisconsin, and you just heard Kick Up Your Heels. It is the latest track or album title from Shelley King out in Austin, Texas. She's a mom, and happy Mother's Day to Shelley King. She rocks. Keep up with her at ShelleyKing.com. I know. She's so cool.
Party.
This is the second part of our party. We're running late on time, but we'll make it all work. And very excited to go back over the pond to bring one of our favorite friends on the show, Glynn Burrows. He is a family history expert and owner of Norfolk Tours in Norfolk, England. And you can keep up with him at norfolk-tours.co.uk. Welcome back, Glynn. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm great. Thanks. How are you girls?
We're doing good. I want to introduce you to some more girls. We've got some other ladies that are staying on the party with us. Now, over not far from you in Scotland, I know how you get along with Scotland, England and Scotland. We got, I'm just saying, I'm just kidding. We got Angela Laws, who's the community manager of Trusted House Sitters. Angela, how are you doing? Having fun?
Well, yeah, it's great. Hi, Glynn. And actually, I'm not a native of Scotland, and I actually used to live in Norwich, so I know Norfolk very well.
Well, there you go.
Cool. There you go.
Yeah. You haven't got much of a Scottish accent, have you?
No, I haven't. Actually, I'm also Canadian. I mean, my heart home is Canada and BC, but yeah, I lived in Norwich for many years, and in fact, my husband is actually from Norwich, so. We know Norfolk very well. So yeah, great to meet you.
Hey,
and you. And all the best men come from Norfolk, you know.
I'm not going to get into that one.
But Glynn, what's your nickname? Tell everybody your nickname, because don't you have a Norfolk nickname?
Well, yeah, I'm a Norfolk dumpling.
It's a dumpling. It's cute.
Yeah,
cool.
I know that one.
Yeah, there it is. See that now. Listen, you're talking about Canadian stuff too. Now, Nancy and I've got a new thing,
Canada.
and Librova Danny, who was just on, and you're part Canadian, Glynn. We're part Canadian too, Nancy and I, French Canadian apparently, and we're all into Canadian humor now, and we do have a Canadian on the show. We've got Judi Cohen. Judy's in Toronto. How are you, Judi? Having fun
fantastic.
yet?
I'm really well, and I met Glynn before on one of our other shows.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
And
that's right.
I really love Canada. I mean, I love Toronto because my relations live in Toronto, but we did go across to BC when I was over there in 2015, I think it was. It was a lovely country.
We'll be happy to welcome you back as soon as it's
I can't wait.
That's awesome. Well, we're going. If Glynn's going, we're going. We're coming. We're going to meet Glynn.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's it. We've got to meet Glynn over all these years. I know Zoom meetings, Facebook chats, radio shows. We've got to meet Glynn and his wife, and we want Diane, his wife, scones, the cheese scones, and we do have to have our Mr. Ricky with him. You know, the little ice cream with the little chocolate flake. You know, I want that. So, So please, I know it's not, Mothering Sunday. I know you've already had that. Please say Happy Mother's Day to Diane for us too. It's important. But I also want to introduce you to Shelley Whizin. We call her the Diva of Soul Diving. She is here too. She's the founder of the Soul Diving Institute. She is in California. Shelley, please meet Glynn over in England.
Hi, Glynn. Hi there. Hey. So nice to meet you.
And you too.
Thank you so much for having me here again with you guys. It's just fun to play and to talk about different topics. And I love talking about mothers and what mothers create and all that good stuff and how we all have one. And so
this is cool. Yeah. Shelley, you've traveled a lot as well around the world. Have you been to England?
I have. I have been to England, and I have not been to Ireland or Scotland, but I did do a workshop once in England, and there were some Scottish and Irish people there in our groups, and they were trying to explain something to me in, quote, English, but I didn't understand a word they said.
Wow. See, that can happen. That happened to me when I went to school in England.
Really,
yeah.
I had Geordies.
I had a hard time.
I don't understand. I don't understand half of them either. No, but that's one of the beautiful things about the world is all of these different languages and all of these different.
Yeah.
It's just a mishmash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to bring Margot Carrera back on, fine art nature photographer. Margot, you've traveled the world. I know, you were talking about doctors, and your husband Jorge is a doctor too. Have you been to England? And meet Glynn.
Yeah. I have. Hi, Glynn. Nice to meet you.
Hello there. Hello. And you.
I've had the pleasure of going twice, once when I was 16 on my first photography tour, actually. Wow. And thought it was beautiful, especially the countryside. And, and then again, recently, when I went on a trip to Ireland, I went to England as well.
Wow, see? So everyone here has been to England, Glynn. You've got to feel quite cozy now. So if you're feeling cozy, what is your champagne toast today?
Well, I think Mother's Day is a very special day for a lot of people. But I would toast all the mothers who have lost children because there's a lot of mothers who are celebrating, but there's also a lot of mothers who are probably having a few tears. So I would like to remember that not everybody is as fortunate to keep their children. So I would like to toast them ladies.
Oh, I love that.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely true, Glynn. And there's, I know moms who've lost their children to suicide, and that's probably one of the hardest. And you're absolutely right. It's that bond, with your children, and it can get rocky, it can, but you've got to move around and get it back together. And I think that's something, Mother's Day, like we said earlier, should be every day. Mothers should be celebrated every day because you are here for, and whether or not there are mothers separated from their children, various reasons, but you're here from them. And Glynn, your story, your latest article up on blendradioandtv.com. If you go right on the homepage, everyone, you'll see Glynn's story about, digging up the history of his two great-great-great-great-grandmothers and how they are complete opposites in some ways. Yes. But you're here because of them. And so whatever your feelings are about them, you're still here. But if there is a way to unite, I think sometimes Mother's Day and holidays are a reminder that you do need to pick up the phone. You do need to send flowers. You do need to kind of regroup with what's going on. And maybe this year of the pandemic also helped kind of remind us all about what our true needs are in life.
Well, let's hope this program will, if there's anybody listening who hasn't spoken to their mum for a couple of years, to pick up the phone and just say hello. If one person, just imagine if one person did that, how that would change their life to reconnect to their family. So I think that's something that we all need to think about, that not every mother has got their children around them today, whether they've left or whether they've lost them,
Exactly. Glynn, your article, it talked about your grandmothers. Margot, your toast was about, the generations before you. Judi, your family history is pretty deep too on your mother's side, and going, back in your history. You've talked about that on previous shows too. Angela, we haven't dug into your family history yet. Now, come on, what's in that closet?
I think there's somewhat of a mystery, lots of mysteries. I come from, those generations where nobody ever talked about their family. And I have that within my family without going too deep. So a lot of it is absolute mystery because it was never talked about. And it was just one of those things. Nobody ever sat down and had these, not like we do now. We just never had those conversations. So there was as much I didn't know as what I did know, and I still don't know. So it's really interesting. And watching programs on the television that go into this, and long lost families and things like that, and going in and finding those. It's not something that I've ever done, but I'm sure one of these days I might find a few either skeletons or surprises, one of the two.
Probably both.
Just going into my past, my parents were both Holocaust survivors, and they never spoke about their past. They never talked about anything as I was growing up. And then all of a sudden, when I had children, they felt it important for them to begin to tell their story. And at the same time, Steven Spielberg was filming survivors of the Holocaust, and my mother told her story over the course of 6 hours, and that's where I found everything out that I did not know.
Gosh. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Glynn, you got to comment on that one. I mean, this is, you do this every day. You bring people, they come over to England, you help them with their family history, but your history's taken you to Canada, literally. But, like, this, you find these things out because it is that era of, you even talk about that in your recent article about, like, one side people will talk about, the other side, well, not so much.
Yes.
Because one was in the prison.
I mean, sometimes it is just too painful for people to talk about. I mean, I remember there was a man in the village next to where I was brought up, and I went to school with his daughter. You know, I knew them from primary school, you know, and I didn't realize until he died that he was actually a Japanese prisoner of war. Because he didn't talk about it. He didn't even talk about it to his daughter. You know, because I said to her afterwards, I didn't realize your dad was you know, a Far Eastern prisoner of war. And she said he never spoke about it. It was too much. And, you know, especially with people like in the Holocaust and that, you know, and the people who were in Japanese prisoner of war camps, I think probably the way they dealt with it, a lot of these people, is just to close it up, to lock it in a cupboard in their brain, because it's just too awful to even imagine, you know. And now the stories are coming out, you know, it just makes you wonder. I mean, sometimes I wonder what the human brain, the human person, can actually go through. Some of the horrific things that I hear about. You know, it just makes you wonder that you could ever get through. And then, you know, when I think to myself, you know, if one day I'm feeling sorry for myself, and as we say, you know, I'm sitting on my pity pot, you know, all I have to do is think about them, you know. Sometimes I can sit on my pity pot and actually all I've got to do is think about this old boy who spent several years in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, and I couldn't put up with that. I couldn't. Well, I would, because obviously you do.
You don't have a choice.
But, exactly. Yeah. But people can actually go through amazing things and get out the other side. So, you know, and women as well. You know, I'm not just saying men. You know, a lot of women were in these Japanese camps as well. You know, a lot of women who were in Singapore and that, they were all rounded up and put in camps, and they got through it as well. But, you know, it is amazing what we can get through as a human being.
Glynn, what would you say for, you know, these kinds of stories, and Margot's story is incredible too. I mean, you know, to get started, like Angela, how can we get that information, especially if your ancestors have kept quiet about it? And, you know, it's like, don't talk about this at the dinner table. You know, you find out things way later because someone's done so much digging, but what's the first thing to start doing? I mean, Mother's Day, to me, you know, people are together, maybe start asking questions, or give Aunt Sally a little glass of wine and let her loosen up.
Well, you may laugh, but, you know, Great Aunt Sally is the person to speak to. Because, you know, who knows when Great Aunt Sally isn't going to be there anymore. You know, you have to speak to your older relations and just talk to them about general life and stuff. You know, don't go there necessarily to start off with a list of questions, but, you know, just sort of ask them where they grew up, where they went to school, things like that. And once you sort of get to talking to them about general things, then they've normally got a drawer in a cupboard somewhere with old photographs and you know, get them to show you their old photos, and make sure you take a soft pencil with you and write the names on the back of the photographs, because everyone's going to forget. You know, but it is generally just talking to people, and either make notes as you're there or make notes afterwards, but, try and write down as much as you can from the people. But even if you've got no great Aunt Sally or great Uncle Fred, it's amazing what most people have got in their own minds. I was talking to someone the other day, and actually I've got inherited memory back to the late 19th century because, I'm 62. So I was talking to people when I was a child who were probably born about 1900. But some of the people I was talking to were born in the 1880s. So there's one particular elderly lady who I remember really well who died when I was about 17. But I remember talking to her, and she was born in 1886. So, I've got memories that go back to the late 19th century. They're not my memories, but they're an inherited memory. And my grandmother, who was born in 1908, she was telling me things about what happened to her in 1920s, So I've got an inherited memory, quite a strong inherited memory going back to the 1920s. So it's amazing if you think about it. If I now talk to my parents, luckily for me, both my parents are still alive. So my mum's 84, my dad's 87. So I mean, my dad has got a fantastic memory about the Second World War, different people he knew when he was working on the farm. Well, those people who he worked with on the farm were probably born in the 1860s,
Wow.
So you've just got to think that if you talk to someone who is in their 80s, they might remember what their granddad told them when they were sitting on his knee, in 1940, about what happened to him in the 1890s. So it is all about talking to people and just making notes about their memories. The one big thing you've all got to remember is the older we get, the more forgetful we get. Or if we don't want to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, we might embroider things. So, we just have to be very aware, and we need to cross-reference with documents. But as soon as you've got the basic bones of a family history, it's then that you can start looking at the records. And the thing to remember is the records are not going to go away, but, Great Uncle Fred is. So talk to Great Uncle Fred as soon as you can, because the records are still going to be there next week.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I want to go to Shelley, too, because Shelley, I know you've traveled, and I do want to touch base with you and Margot, because I also believe there's the family history you can get, Glynn, by talking to your family, everything you're doing. And but I also think that there's this, and I'm going to get woo-woo, just giving everybody a big warning. It's like, I'm almost done with my glass of champagne here, so it's happening.
Oh dear.
But I know. Everybody get on the ship. Here we go. There's a magic carpet ride coming up. No, but really, when you travel a lot, there are places that you end up that you have this incredible bond to the place. And then Nancy and I, over years, have found out that we've had relatives there we had no idea about, especially like Nancy's lineage of grandmother's side, father. Actually, it's all over the map with us. We're weird, but and cool weird. It's interesting weird anyway. But when you go to a place, you do have this interesting feeling, and sometimes I wonder if it's like, I don't know, maybe it's a past life. So that's my woo-woo side on it. But I believe that there's going to be rich ancestry that we don't know. Now, Margot, you had an incredible experience in Peru, and I wonder about that maybe connecting back to your heritage. And I know, Shelley, you've been to Peru as well, and definitely there's something that happened with the two of you in Peru, but you don't know each other. But I'm just going to say you need to connect on this, because I think this is another level also of family history, that there's a feeling. Yeah. I know, Glynn, you witness it, right? When you take people around, they can feel that feeling. Definitely. But sometimes you can feel it without knowing. Do you know what I mean? Margot, let's start with you on this, because do you know what I mean, right?
I do know what you mean. And interesting enough, I don't know if it's all ancestral, and I I'm going to say I don't know for sure that there's past lives, but it feels like there is. And when I went to Peru, well, I had amazing things happen there, even with people that weren't other than myself. But for myself, I felt when I got to Machu Picchu, I felt like that was a past home of mine. And I felt so connected, and I felt so much love. And the shamans took me in, and they wanted to teach me, and they actually made me a member of their group, honorary member of their group. And so they must have felt a connection. And the sweetest thing is my husband's Peruvian, and he, when he first met me, when I first walked in the room at college, he had deja vu, and he said, "She's the one," and I've seen her in a vision before. So there's connections, and I don't know if they're all ancestral, but they could be also past life. Yeah. And one woman I took up to Peru, she was in her 70s, and all the shamans knew her when she arrived, and they said that she was like one of the she was the ancestor of the Incas. She was like we would call a queen. She was, and they took her. They wanted to take her to her palace, and they took her, and she touched the fence, and she had visions of what happened in that lifetime, and that was amazing. And so yes, I could say yes.
It's wild. It is wild.
Cool.
I mean, anyone tuning in now is going to go like, "What the heck?" But it's true. I mean, you have these feelings. I mean, you talk about past lives. Nancy, you took hypnotism class, and you had she took classes with Sylvester Stallone in the same room.
Yeah, that was cool.
You know. Yeah, you did that, and you had a vision. You were a Bantu boy, and then you didn't know you wanted to go to Africa, but then you ended up in Africa.
Well, the doctor would hypnotize you if you were willing, and take you into what he called your memory of your past lives. And I had this thing about I had to go to Africa no matter what. I had to go, and my mind was, because I'm a wildlife artist, and I wanted to see wildlife not in a zoo. Yeah, and I wanted to see African wildlife. So that was my take on it. But he said, no, you actually were in Africa eons ago. And apparently I was a Bantu, and I was not a woman. I was an 11-year-old boy. So there you go. And I'm like, okay.
But she ended up in Africa. She ended up in Africa teaching, going into
Africa.
Teaching about not killing lions, going into muddy huts, trying to put a projector with a photo of a lion, trying to explain about not killing, and somebody threw a spear at the lion in the muddy hut.
Through the screen. That was fun.
But so, I mean, it's kind of interesting how it all goes around. But Shelley, what about, I know Glynn, you're going to think we're totally off our rocker yet, right? Are we okay yet? Because we haven't started with Shelley on this. You know, Glynn is...
I'll tell you my bit later.
Okay, because there is something about this connectivity that I don't think we can all explain, because we're still human bound. But Shelley,
deja vu, that feeling of you've been here before.
Yes. Well, Margot, like you, studied with shaman in Peru, and I was fortunate enough to do all-night ceremonies in Machu Picchu and all the power centers of Peru with in 1986. So I know nobody's able to do that anymore, but we were very fortunate. And I remember going, I think it was in the Temple of the Moon, and I felt a presence in the crystal cave where the great-grandmother came and welcomed me home. And I just started to cry like crazy, just bawl like a child, for the first time feeling welcomed, feeling at home. And I think it was in that same place that the shaman, everybody was doing a vision quest, and the shaman just came over to me and laid his head into my lap, and I stroked him like a mother would a child. And there was so much energy and so much love that was pouring through me that I felt as if I was planet Earth and I was the Mother Earth. And when I got into the bus, all of his apprentices came into the back of the bus and just held me and like we were like kittens. They were just all over me, clamoring onto me. So there is an energetic, I think, legacy that goes through the cosmos that whether we call it, reincarnation or whatever, we cannot stop consciousness from spreading it because that's what it is. And being a death midwife, I relate to you so much, Glynn, in what you're talking about family history, because I do a training where it's a 3-day immersion into your notions of death and dying. And one of the most beautiful things that we teach is to speak to somebody and ask them to go through a life review, something just like what you're talking about, so that they feel like their life mattered at the end of their life. And sometimes people don't feel that way. And the way that they do feel that way is when they begin to tell the stories of their life that fill them up with joy. And it's a beautiful way to bring that out in them. And I, too, my adopted father is, I say adopted because I've known him since I was 13. He was also a Holocaust survivor. And he didn't tell his family about anything for many years and then became a speaker at the Museum of Tolerance. And he's still living, thank God. He's 96 years old, and he's still living and wanting to tell his story. You can find his story, I think, on Facebook, Albert Rosa. Anyway, so many ways of honoring mothers, so many ways of honoring. I love what you said, inherited memories. I love that so much because that's what we do when we share our lives and pieces of our lives. And what else do we have to do? What else are we doing here but not sharing who we are and our experiences and our woo-woo-ness and everything else? And what the hell else is it about?
Yeah.
I mean, really. You share your love, you share all that. Yeah.
I want to ask Angela, can we do a pet sit in Peru? I know I've actually seen Peru. I'm just saying. Yeah,
we have had them in Peru. We've had them a lot in South America and Ecuador, and yes, I mean, I'm sure, but listening to everybody talking about, where you feel connected to, my connection is so strong for Canada. I can't tell you the moment that I went there in the 70s when I first landed and I went to that country. I never ever knew. I never understood people when they said that they were homesick for a place. I couldn't get that. I would think, but people make the places. You don't that. And it wasn't until I went to Canada and I know what being homesick for somewhere means. I have an ache for that country. And Lake Louise is one of the places that is so special to me. And also when I'm at the top of the mountain, I lived in Vancouver, and I would go up to Whistler, and I'd go to the top of Blackcomb and the top of Whistler Mountain and stand there and look at the vista and in the distance, and it was just a carpet of mountains. And I would drive from Vancouver through to Edmonton, and I would do that drive on my own, and it was like 1,000 miles, and I would do it, and every corner I went round, I would go, wow, and I would feel, and Canada to me is home, and I was born in the UK, but when I land there, it's this feeling that I'm home, and when I leave, I cry, and so that connection, it's where does that come from? Where if I went back, was that where I was originally? Who knows? I don't know.
Or you have a family member that you don't know about that is part of you that used to live there. Kind of feel.
I mean, whatever it is, I mean, the pull for me is so strong that I just want to go home, and I call it home. So and I've lived all over the world, but that is just the place for me that is home.
Yeah. Wow. Glynn, is that something that sounds real familiar to you? All of this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, many times over. I mean, one of the ones that I really always remember is I took a lady to Ipswich, which is on the east coast of Suffolk, and that was where her ancestors had sailed from in about 1633, I think it was. And we stood on the quayside, which obviously was not the quayside that was there in 1633. But she said to me, I just want to wish them a safe journey. And I thought, that sounds all right, okay, And we stood on the quayside, and she waved them off and wished them a safe journey. And although I couldn't see it really, but in my head, I could actually see this little sailing boat sailing away in the distance, this, 1630s type of sailing boat, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up.
Wow.
And I felt totally emotional. It was a real strange thing. It's nothing to do with me. It was all her. But the emotion that was there was unbelievable. I mean, in another time, there was a lady came over from Australia, and she knew that her granddad was born in King's Lynn, but she didn't know where. I was able to find out the exact address where he was born, and I took her to the spot. Sadly, the house had been demolished, but I took her to the spot, and we stood on the pavement just outside where this cottage used to stand, and she stood and cried. Well, that is emotion, and where does emotion come from? That's another thing, isn't it? What is emotion? Why standing on a pavement would suddenly bring this real, and I mean real tangible emotion? She's not standing by a grave. She's not standing in front of anybody. She's standing in front of a modern building on a street. Yet
where does that come
so
from?
Connected. What is and also, when anyone says, "Oh God, is that place got a terrible atmosphere?" What's an atmosphere? Why can we feel sometimes that an atmosphere is what we say in England is sliceable? You could slice through the atmosphere in a room. Why? What is it? What is an atmosphere? But we all know what an atmosphere is, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really strange. But for me, I mean, I go into churches that are 1,000 years old, nearly not every day of the week, but quite often, and I always feel that feeling that place has been really special for a long while, and I always get a connection. It is tangible. It's tasteable. I know it sounds really silly, but you can almost taste it. That there is 1,000 years of people going there and praying or whatever. What is? It's not because it's a church or anything. It's because it's been special for a long while, and I can get that even if I go to a Bronze Age burial mound, that's like 3,000 years old, and that's just a heap of nothing in the field. You still get that wow, and I still don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
But it's
see,
real.
we did good. I got you all on the woo-woo train, man. I'm good at that.
It's not a woo-woo train at all.
But,
no, I think it's just that there's always a connection from generation to generation, and some of us feel it if we take the time to let ourselves. I don't think it's really woo-woo. It's just because we can't scientifically explain it.
You cannot scientifically explain an atmosphere, can you?
Yeah,
what is an
that's
atmosphere?
Right. Yeah,
but we all know. We can all walk into a room and think, woohoo! What have I done wrong?
Exactly.
I can walk in the other. I can walk in the living room where my wife was watching the telly, and if I've done something wrong, I know I've done something wrong. She doesn't have to say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So where does that come from?
I have Nancy for that. Real quick, I just want to bring Steve Schneickert, our Hollywood historian, onto the line. He's been waiting, and our timing is off. And I know Judi and Glynn, you both have to go, but Steve, I know wants to say hi to you. Welcome, Steve. Hi.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, you guys. Hey, Glynn.
Hello.
Always get to hear your voice and your stories. I love that.
Yeah. So I had to bring you on. I couldn't keep you
waiting
there.
And I love the woo-woo.
You love the woo-woo. Yeah. I mean, it is family history.
Fave.
Yeah, I know. I know that Judi. I know you. Everyone, tell me on your timing. So if you have to go, raise your hand that I can't see. So here, I'm trying to keep everybody on schedule. Judi, how are you doing on time?
I'm going to have to cut out very soon.
Okay. Well, everybody.
But I wanted to wish everybody happy Mother's Day again, and it's been a wonderful show and a great conversation. I love everybody on the call, and I love the woo-woo.
The woo-woo. I didn't know. We're going to have to do a show called Woo-Woo, Big Blend Woo-Woo.
Yeah.
The woo-woo train. But everyone, travelingjudi.com is our website. And Judi, you just said again. And, I used to say again all the time, and people used to laugh at me for saying again here in this country. And now that you just said that, it's going to start up again for me. I know it's going to start getting in my psyche, and I'll start saying again. I know, because it's against the wind. It's not against the wind. It's against the wind. I'm just saying. See? But anyway, listen, have a wonderful rest of your Mother's Day, Judi. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And
Thank
you
you
for having me.
Judi.
Happy Mother's Day, Judi.
Happy Mother's Day.
Judi.
And then also,
Thank you,
Glynn.
Lisa. Yeah.
Thank you. Shelley, how are you doing on time?
I'm doing good. I'm just going to be able to go in a minute.
Okay. Well, you just keep us
no,
posted.
Shelley.
Shelley's not allowed to leave.
Okay.
You're my favorite. It's okay, though. It's okay.
I thought
Who
I
is
was
this
your
speaking?
favorite.
Who is this speaking?
This
well,
is
what the heck?
Steve Schneickert. Steve Schneickert's our Hollywood historian. Has been on our show for years, and also he knows everywhere we're going, when we're going, and when we arrive to make sure we arrive on time where we're supposed to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's our go-to on that. We call him from rest areas in the middle of the night at 2 a.m, and he listens to our stories and laughs at them because we watch people in rest areas. Anyway, but Glynn, how are you doing on time? You how are you doing? I know you have to probably go. Or what's up with you on England time?
I can give you 5 minutes, but I'm really upset that I'm not Steve's favorite anymore. I'm really.
I know,
upset.
Steve. Steve. What's up with that?
I thought, wow, that was pretty gutsy.
Yeah. Steve's caused a commotion. Well, he's an actor. He's a performer. He likes to do that, But see, Glynn, all of this family history is so important, and I want to bring Angela back on because Angela, you had something to say on that, and I cut you off to bring Steve on because he wanted to tell Shelley that
He missed her.
Yes. And listen, we've got Margot here too, and you haven't been on the show with Margot Carrera yet, I don't think. So I'm just saying, you don't know, you might have these favorites.
I know.
I love Margot's artwork.
See?
Thank you.
Oh, he's getting points now. He's getting points.
Everybody has
got
points. Favorite
and listen, Angela, you know Steve on Twitter because I always tag him on the photos I tweet to you guys on our pet sitting photos because he knows.
I know
he knows
that
all the pets.
He hasn't said that I'm his favorite either, so I think
exactly.
Angela, you're one of my favorites. Of course you are.
Steve.
All you ladies are my favorite, and Glynn is my number one man favorite.
Now you're just a drama. Yeah.
Oh, this is so funny.
I have one quick question for Glynn, and Glynn, it's a semi-serious question that all of us go back and we want to know and everything else. Have you noticed that now today, with the advent of the internet and heck, Google knows absolutely
You can say
everything.
hell. You can say anything.
Google knows everything, and so people feel that if they want to find anything, they just Google it. But have you noticed that sort of I don't want to say the younger generation, but I'm talking about those people now that are so into the internet. Have they lost the desire to know more organically, or are they searching online and they don't have these conversations? Because I think that's so important.
Yes, I mean a lot of people do just go on to Google. They go on to Ancestry or whatever. They find someone else's family history and they just think that's right, and it obviously isn't very often. But I find that sort of goes for people who are more in their middle ages. I think young people are more savvy, and they realise that that's not all true, what they read on the internet.
And are they having the conversations?
Yes. I think the younger people are more likely to value their elderly relations more than probably people of my age, because obviously my parents have been around forever, so I'm probably not as likely to value them as much as my children who are in their 30s.
Yeah.
So, I think young people, if they are interested in history, are talking to older people.
Great.
They're probably recording it on their mobile phones, but that's actually lovely as well, isn't it? To actually have a voice, you know.
Yeah.
I think younger people, and especially really younger children. I say younger children. You know, teenagers. A lot of teenagers now are doing this sort of thing in school, and they're being encouraged to talk to their older relations. So I think it's being encouraged more to realise that history is on the doorstep. So I think that's good.
That's good.
If you know that you have ancestors and you realize that your ancestors must have done something somewhere at some time and you're connected to it, then history becomes important. It's not important when the history teacher gives you a mimeograph, now you can tell my age, list of dates of what happened where, and it's boring. I think
what I do a lot when especially when I go to my local primary school is I like to make everything relative. Mm-hmm. So I mean we're really lucky in England that we can study every period in history apart from the Greeks and the Egyptians. Well, we can even study the Egyptians because obviously Howard Carter, who came from Swaffham, discovered Tutankhamun, so we could even put a local spin on the Egyptians. But every other period of history can be studied within a few miles of most primary schools in England. So, you know, if you can bring it home to them. I mean, in Beatley, which is the village school where my children went to, even when we were talking about the Crimean War, which obviously happened in Eastern Europe in the 1850s, we brought that to Beatley because one of the men who's actually buried in Beatley churchyard, his tombstone told us that he was in the Battle of Inkerman and the Battle of Alma and at the Siege of Sebastopol. So, you know, you can even bring the Crimean War to your local primary school by finding out who's in the graveyard. You know, things like that, you know.
Oh, I love the graveyard. I'm going to do a whole thing on graveyards across America because we found all these historic people and noteworthy people that we didn't know were noteworthy people from graveyards. Like the guy who started bandstand music and, you know, all these, I mean, just, it's amazing. Women actors, and they don't get their gravestones aren't that prominent. I'm just saying. And if they were actors, then they thought they were, you know, naughty women. But, you know, it's just really fascinating stuff. Glynn, thank you so much for joining us on our special Mother's Day show. Always good to have you on. And everyone, Glynn's article's up on blendradioandtv.com right now. You see family history on the homepage. Thank you for joining us. Keep up with Glynn at norfolk-tours.co.uk. Thanks, Glynn.
Thank you. I shall now go and have a good cry because Stephen doesn't love me anymore.
He does.
I put that in there. I said you're the only male I love. Hey.
Oh, that's not true.
Didn't listen.
Oh, he is in
I'll
much
speak to you
trouble.
all very soon. I look forward to it.
You take care.
Glynn.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, we're going to play some music.
And
we've got another Steve joining us and Karen joining us. And we've got some Hollywood history from Steve and some more music. And we're going to play a fun game. But, Shelley, how are you doing on time? Keep me posted.
I'm okay. I will keep you posted. I might have to leave. I just need to check one thing with my grandson.
Okay, we're going to play some music.
But
and Nancy needs more champagne because she's a mama. Angela, we're pouring you some more, too.
And she's a beautiful mama.
I know. And Margot, you get some
for
champagne, too. And hoping one day we get to have some champagne with Margot in the garden because we need to do that. But stay tuned, everyone. Here it is. I'm going to switch music up here. We're going to play Girl. And this song is by the Madisons. We want to wish Lizzie Harris from the Madisons, who's singing, a happy birthday. And they rock, the Madisons. This is from their album called Air on the Side of Love. And their website is madisonsmusic.com. Enjoy. Everyone, again, that was the Madisons. You can keep up with them at madisonsmusic.com. That was their song Girl from their album Air on the Side of Love. You are listening to Big Blend Radio Special Champagne Sundays Mother's Day Party. We've had all kinds of guests on our show, all awesome folks who have been on our show before, are part of our Big Blend family. And we have some new guests joining our party here. We had Steve Schneickert call in a little earlier. Steve Schneickert, our Hollywood historian. You're going to hear some of his Hollywood history at the end of the segment. And Steve, it's good to have you back, dude. What is your champagne toast?
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Happy Mother's Day, Nancy.
Yeah, well, you got in trouble.
Thank you for Nancy. See how that is as a daughter? See?
There you go.
I know.
Better than a goober.
I know. No,
okay.
No. But, hey, what's...
Mine?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Me, Steve? Oh, okay. Well, my champagne
yeah, we've got
toast,
another Steve coming on.
Of course.
Making sure.
Right, that's why. So, okay. And I love the other Steve.
Laughing.
I love the other Steve. You know,
I already got the giggles.
Anyway,
here we go. the silly side of the show now.
I have a champagne toast to my mom, Marvet, my sister Jill up in heaven. Happy Mother's Day. Also, to my niece, Sarah Schneickert Morgan, who just recently lost her wife, Dr. Becky Morgan. And Sarah has a 19-year-old daughter, and between Sarah, who gave birth, and Dr. Becky, she has 2.5-year-old twins, Marlo and Fitzgerald. And her 19-year-old is named Jillian Marvet after my mom and sister, Marvet and Jill. But last but not least, I want to give a toast to Hot Mama Babushka.
But I knew you would not forget. They're big punishment you forget.
Oh, well done, Steve. That's well done, because he's not going to live it down. But listen, we've also got another two guests joining us. We've got Steve and Karen Wilson, Mr. and Mrs. Wild. I'm just saying. And we know they are. They are the innkeepers and owners of the Lion and the Road Bed and Breakfast. We had the pleasure of staying there last year in the summer. They're in Asheville, North Carolina, Beer City, USA. And we've had a wonderful time seeing them recently, just a few months ago when we were there in Asheville, pet sitting Luna, beautiful Luna, and the kittens, Kit Kat, and Minnie while we were out there. And Steve and Karen are also pet parents, so I was going to say, and they're awesome. They do a lot for veterans. They do a lot for wildlife and animals. They totally rock. So it is good to have them back on the show. I encourage you to go to their website, lion-rose.com. And I want to tell you, Nancy and I were just in Madison. We are in Madison now, but we went walking through a park, taking photographs, as you know we do. And we thought of you because as we were walking, we could hear lions roaring because it was a zoo next door. But while you're watching the boaters row their boat, we're thinking, guess who's going to get you, man? And there's a lot of roses around here, too. So you got to, and they have great breweries. You'd appreciate it here. But let's welcome Karen first. Karen, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Did you have any mommies at the inn this morning?
We actually did. We had a mother and daughter in 2 different rooms this weekend for 2 different reasons. But it's nice when we have the mother-daughter thing, especially like Mother's Day.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, how are you doing, Steve? Steve,
doing all right.
We'll just call him Wild Steve and Hollywood History Steve.
There you go.
Hollywood Steve.
Yeah,
we're doing good. We're kind of on another adventure right now. We're in Tennessee right now, and we're kind of out in the sticks, and we're having trouble getting into our Airbnb. They've got some sort of crazy electronic door lock, and now it went all haywire. So we're sitting in a school parking lot right now, talking to you.
You're in
a find a signal.
Lot? Oh my God!
Get a hammer.
Okay. Okay.
We had to get on. We had to make sure we were here, so we did whatever we could to make sure we got it.
No, this is hysterical because you know how I left the door at your bed and breakfast when I locked myself out during a live radio show and couldn't get back in. So this was like,
hey, Pat. When she locked herself out, I was like, oh, she locked herself out. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I get a chance to talk.
Oh my gosh. So I just want to let you know we have other guests that have been following through on the party. We have Angela Laws. She is the community manager of Trusted House Sitters. Steve and Karen know all about our house sitting experiences. Angela and Angela, welcome back on the show. You've been sitting in with us from Scotland all day. This is great. All show, I should say.
I have indeed, and it's a bit dry here because the bottle's downstairs and I'm upstairs. So I've had one champagne toast and that's it. But it's great to meet you, Steve and Karen. And I'm just the Lion
and the other Steve.
And the other Steve.
There's another Steve.
And
Angela, I loved how you say woo woo.
But it's great to be here and sharing in Lisa and Nancy's pet sitting adventures and what we do and with Trusted House Sitters is amazing. So great to meet you, the Lion and Whereabouts is the Lion and the Rose bed and breakfast?
Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Have a look.
Everyone has to go to Asheville. Everyone needs to go to Asheville. So I'm telling you, it's one of the coolest cities on the planet. Is. And we've discovered Madison is too. But Asheville, there's beer, there's dogs everywhere. It is like, and same here, there's bicycles and dogs too. But Asheville, dogs, I mean, the restaurants, I mean, it's insane. Like, good insane. Like dogs and
dog
beer.
City.
And nature.
Dogs, beer, nature, you name it.
Yeah, Smoky Mountains.
You know what? We actually we've gone through 2020 and it was the worst year and everything else. But I think what has happened, and this is what we're seeing with our members and our community, is people are actually discovering their own backyards because they can't get on a plane and fly international and go and travel international. They're actually staying at home and they're staying domestic. And they're discovering places that they would never otherwise see. And it's just opening your eyes up to the fact that within your own space is just beauty and you know, sort of authentic travel and slow travel. And you don't have to stand in sort of airports for 4 hours before you actually get onto that plane. So, it's amazing.
That's true. And I want to bring Margot Carrera back on here. Margot is an amazing nature photographer, fine artist as well. You can go to CarreraFineArtGallery.com. Margot sent us on a story mission to go to as many gardens and document gardens as possible. And we have a map, an interactive map that needs a lot of updating because we've done a ton, Margot. And I have to say, we're going to do a special edition book just on the gardens because we've probably been to at least 50.
It's too beautiful.
And speaking of Madison, we just did the Arboretum and the Botanical Gardens, which is amazing that they have them for free for the public. I think that's pretty amazing. Asheville, North Carolina has, of course, you guys have that big Biltmore mansion thing going on, but we went to the Arboretum, and I want to say the Arboretum is truly incredible there. Margo, have you been to Asheville?
No, I haven't. It sounds wonderful. Sounds like a place on my to-do list.
Yes, let's go.
If you love nature, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, nature, Smoky Mountains. This is, I mean, you guys are in the backyard of elk country. You have elk and fireflies and everything.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Looking forward to those fireflies later in a couple of weeks, actually. We're going to do one of those firefly tours in the evening.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Oh, I can't wait for the photos.
Very cool.
What is your Instagram? I love following you guys on Instagram. I love following Steve on Facebook because you guys just do a lot of beer hopping. I don't know. We ended up in a brewery at the same time the other day when we were in Costa Mesa. You guys were at a brewery. We're at a brewery. Like what? It's not Wednesday. We only meet on Wednesdays. What's going on? But yeah, I mean, what's your Instagram? Because you guys put up so many amazing nature. Photos from Smoky Mountains and Blue Ridge Parkway, and just you really show off the natural beauty of what Asheville has. It's beautiful. What's your Instagram?
I believe it is just the Lion and the Rose.
Awesome. We have to do that. And Margot, what's yours? Because you put up your work on there, and you do it on Facebook too. If everyone just types in Carrera Fine Art.
Mine is my name. It's Margot, MARGOT Carrera, CARRERA.
Okay.
That's my Instagram.
Yeah, it's awesome. You follow Margot, and then Angela, you guys post a lot of doggy pics, and Steve and Karen do too, because they got little dogs that really are fun.
So cute. So that's the core of what we on our Instagram and on our Facebook. It's all about animals. It's all about pets, and you know, who doesn't want to see a cute pet picture and a cute dog or whatever? But that's
absolutely.
I have a question for Margot. What is the secret of actually capturing an image of fireflies? Because I tried to do it once, and just failed miserably.
Well, you need to change your ISO to around 2000, and then you need to do one of those fast shots where where it will go really quickly. Sometimes click, 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 click.
Right.
And so that does the stop action. And the ISO makes it easier to, take the night photography. But yeah.
Oh, that's
about the
brilliant.
shutter.
Thank you.
Or,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or you could just put a glass of wine out on the patio table and they drink it and they fly a lot slower.
Or listen, fireflies over. Like the last couple of years is our first time seeing the fireflies, and it is like a truly magical experience. And I swear we saw some like that in Africa, but I don't know. I'm kind of tripping out of my brain. But Steve, what beer would you make for fireflies to come and hang out? So people can take photographs.
Have them come hang out? Oh yeah, something heavy and dark probably.
Yeah. What are you serving now? What's on?
Right now we're still doing the wheat beer, but we also have an IPA on tap, and then we got a lager that's lagering, getting ready to be on tap soon too. Once we make some room for it.
Ah, are you still doing the doggy bones for the Humane Society, or have I got the right?
Yep,
thing?
we are going there this week actually.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on opening up like a Etsy store too, and I'm going to start selling them online. I think too, because a lot of the dogs that I try them on really like them.
I want to get them for my dog Bella.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Steve's been waiting for this. Steve Hollywood. Steve.
Yes.
But tell Angela, and I mean our listeners need to know this. You make beer for normally you go to bed and breakfast, they have sherry hour or wine time. But when you go to the bed and this is so perfect because Steve's a home brewer, and then he's like, "Hello, here it is. I'm going to give you a beer when you check in." Yeah. Honestly, it's awesome, and it's a great introduction to Beer City, USA. And so this is awesome. So you're actually using the spent grain from the beer making process to make the dog biscuits.
Wow. Yep, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a little peanut butter in there, a little bacon grease, and it's dog heaven.
Wow. Doggies like it. They're very calm.
Isn't that cool?
We'll have to share that.
All the dogs love them.
You guys offline and everything, so you see this. With Trusted House Sitters, you guys do a lot on showcasing animal charities as well. Something I've been following. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, we do whatever we can. Whatever we can,
Yeah. We just for anybody that's out in San Diego, on May 22nd, Trusted House Sitters has got a rehoming event with the Animal Pad in San Diego. Mm-hmm. We're matching adoption fees for the day, and we're donating $4,000 for the day. And
that's wonderful.
We've got that, and then when we finish that at 3:00 in the afternoon, we're going to Second Chance Brewery. They're in San Diego as well, because they do a lot of rehoming and sort of charity events, and we're going and we're sponsoring that as well. So that's on May the 22nd, because it's National Rescue Day is on the 20th of May, but we've moved it to the Saturday so that more people can get there. But we're doing that sponsored event on May 22nd. So if anybody's in the San Diego area and you can get along to the Animal Pad, if I was there, if I wasn't in Scotland, I'd be there. But no, we're looking forward to it, because shelters have had such a hard time in the last 18 months. All their fundraising has just gone out of the window, and so any help that we can give them, we will.
Awesome.
Are you on Facebook?
Yes, we are. We're Trusted House Sitters on Facebook.
If you can look me up on Facebook, I will send it out to all my San Diego friends.
Awesome. Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you.
I will connect you all. I will connect you all. And do that. And we have a huge.
I'd be happy to.
And we will too, because that's our beginning of our magazine is San Diego. That's like a lot of our people are from there, so we'll make sure that gets out there too.
Yeah.
Awesome. San Diego. I mean, San Diego's a good dog town too, man. They're good about animals, horses, all of it.
There's a lot of dogs and
beer. Hey, Steve, have you been to San Diego breweries?
Yeah. I haven't been to any breweries. No, I haven't been to San Diego in ages.
Oh my gosh!
Since I went to the zoo about 30 years ago.
We opened our magazine at the same time as Stone Brewery. And so that was like, it was crazy. Like, and that was when the brewery scene started up. Yeah, of course, you had Carl Strauss and everything, but that was when all the breweries were opening up in the industrial parks, and it was super cool. And now they're everywhere we go. And I'm like, San Diego's with me everywhere. It's awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, San Diego is a special place. And Margot, you moved out of San Diego and moved right back there because you know it is. It's a special city, county. Special. You got the desert, mountains, beach, countryside. It is an amazing county. It really is. Okay, so Steve and Karen, Mr. and Mrs. Wild, we have to have your champagne toast, and then we have to go. So, Steve, what is your champagne toast?
I guess I'll toast to all the mothers out there. Mine's not around anymore, but Karen's still there. Toast to all of them for all they do for everybody and what they've turned us all into.
That's a good one. That's an interesting one. Now, if I was one of those that would sit you on a couch, that would be interesting. And I wish we had more time. Karen, what is your toast?
I just want to toast to everyone, including all the mothers out there, just for happier days ahead, brighter future for everyone. Best wishes and cheers.
Well, thank you both for calling in your car in Tennessee. Where are you going in Tennessee? What are you up to?
Yeah.
Like where? What's the scandal?
We are going to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary Distillery. It is the Alcatraz of the East. It is now a distillery.
I love this.
Penitentiary. Love that.
I know.
We got to get into our Airbnb first, though.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be
get a hammer.
Penitentiary.
Just get a hammer.
Yeah,
I don't want to be sleeping in the penitentiary.
Well, I understand about those. Sometimes those batteries don't work, and good luck with that.
No.
I'm just going to say, there's always got to be another thing other than digital, because sometimes the digital doesn't work when you're trying to get in, but Nancy's really good at, I don't know what, Nancy could be a good thief if she wanted to be. She is able to open any kind of weird lock or anything. If something's not opening, I call Nancy. I can open jars. She opens up weird coding stuff. So I'm just saying, you know who's the brain.
The only thing
we need you, Nancy.
It's called attention to detail. You got to turn that thing over, back, side, front, push every button, pull on it, slap it around a bit, and try again, and then be gentle.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good close to our
that
show.
sounds familiar.
Good advice. All right.
All right. Listen, we're going to go. We're going to close off with Steve Schneickert's Hollywood History of Women Activists, because mothers come in all shapes and forms. And these are about women who stood up for issues like our water, our animals, all kinds. We've got Silkwood, right? Steve, this Hollywood history is way from
Erin
the vault. Erin Brockovich, I think of her every time we drive through Hinckley outside of Barstow, and they're dealing with the same issue again. So I'm just going to say we got to fix our water in this country. Oopsie. Anyway, I'm just saying it's true. It's out there. It's when you actively have been there and you look at the devastation of lack of water, it's terrible. There's wildlife refuges out there that are gone. People suffered from it. Look at Flint, Michigan. So anyway, so you've got that, and we're going to play that now, and we're going to close with the song Picture Yourself by Nikki Chris from her album Heartbeat, because she's an awesome mom, and we got to get her back on the show. It's been a while. So to do that, we want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, Angela Laws at Trusted House Sitters is trustedhousesitters.com. Y'all got to join if you're traveling or you're a pet parent or a homeowner. Check it out. Also, keep up with Margot at CarreraFineArtGallery.com. She really has amazing gifts for moms, dads, everyone who loves nature. Also, keep up with Steve and Karen at lion-rose.com over in Asheville, North Carolina. Awesome bed and breakfast stay. Watch for our new bed and breakfast book coming out, Bed and Breakfast Across America. Honestly, amazing, the stories that we got from that. It's also part of our brand new series called The American Story Project, because these are all incredible stories that we found from these bed and breakfasts and kind of spurred us into another whole other land of projects. So thanks, Karen and Steve, for that.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Steve Schneickert, who has always just had so much joy with him over the years. And thanks for taking our calls in rest areas while we're drinking our wine and we're not supposed to.
Absolutely. I'll be there for you.
All right. Here it is. Some Hollywood history from Steve and then some music from Nikki Chris. Thank you all for joining us. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Thank you, Lisa and Nancy. Happy Mother's Day, Nancy.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's
Day,
everybody.
Take care, all of you. Steve,
Bye,
I want your doggy cookies.
Bye.
Yeah, get on that thing.
Several movements have developed over the years. They vary in goals, strategies, and affiliation. They often overlap, and some identify themselves with several branches of thought. Accident or murder. Based on a true story, 1983 Silkwood, directed by Mike Nichols, begins and ends with Karen Silkwood, Meryl Streep, driving along a lonely road in 1974, heading to meet with a New York Times reporter to deliver evidence of negligence at the Kerr-McGee plant in Cimarron, Oklahoma. The balance of the film flashes back to Karen's ribald private life with her lover, Kurt Russell, and her loose living friends, Cher and Diana Scarwood. This is in contrast to her humdrum job at Kerr-McGee, or at least it was humdrum, until Karen and several other employees became contaminated by radiation. The higher-ups want to sweep this incident under the rug, but Karen thinks that something is fishy and informs the union of that fact. X-rays of faulty fuel rods and written proof of the inadequate safety measures that caused Karen's illness are tampered with, forcing Karen to conduct her own private investigation. As she gathers evidence, Karen becomes a pariah to her boyfriend because of her obsession. She finally organizes the evidence into a briefcase and heads off to her meeting with the Times reporter. She never makes it. The official report on her fatal auto accident is that Ms. Silkwood had been drinking and was under the influence of tranquilizers. Kerr-McGee was eventually forced to pay the Silkwood family an enormous settlement because of her contamination. The full facts behind her convenient accident have never been revealed, though the filmmakers clearly indicated whom they hold responsible. Erin Brockovich, a 2000 biographical film directed by Steven Soderbergh. The film is a dramatization of the true story of Erin Brockovich, portrayed by Oscar winner Julia Roberts, who, despite the lack of a formal education in the law, was instrumental in building a case against the corporation Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, of California in 1993. Directed by Martin Ritt and starring Oscar winner Sally Field, 1979's Norma Ray, based on the true story of Crystal Lee Sutton, a factory worker from a small town in North Carolina, who becomes involved in the labor union activities at the textile factory where she works. On a lighter note, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. A shout-out to Doris Day. Since her retirement from the film industry in 1975, she has devoted much of her time as an animal rights advocate. I am Steve Schneickert, and this is Hollywood History as I recall it.
raining in the meadow, wildflowers blowing in the breeze. And if I fall before I crawl, it's meant to be. Standing tall through it all, 'cause I believe. Picture yourself sitting in the sunlight, watching the birds fly by. Picture yourself hugging a child, wiping a tear from their eye. And if I fall before I crawl, it's meant to be. Standing tall through it all, 'cause I believe it's a new beginning where time stands still. Picture yourself winning where I can't becomes I will. Picture yourself floating up to heaven, a million angels by your side. Picture yourself looking back on your life and thinking, what a wonderful ride. And if I fall before I crawl, it's meant to be. Standing tall through it all, 'cause I believe if I fall before I crawl, it's meant to be. Standing tall through it all, 'cause I believe. What a wonderful life.